Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the news from SABA satellite channel from Marib. Here are tonight's top stories.
President Al-Alimi receives 5 new ambassadors, urges stronger international support for Yemen.
Yemen and Kuwait discuss stronger bilateral cooperation and regional security.
Yemen joins Saudi-led initiative to launch multinational maritime defense alliance.
Welcome back. In a key diplomatic step today, President of the Presidential Leadership Council, Dr. Rashad Al-Alimi, received the credentials of 5 new ambassadors. President Al-Alimi received the credentials of Kuwait's ambassador, Falah Al-Mutayri. He also received the credentials of Italy's ambassador, Carlo Balducci. The President also received the credentials of Norway's ambassador, Kirsti Tromsdal. The President also accepted the credentials of Greece's ambassador, Katerina Barbigo.
In separate meetings with the ambassadors, President Al-Alimi welcomed their appointment and reaffirmed Yemen's commitment to strengthening bilateral relations and providing full support for their diplomatic missions. The President said the growing international diplomatic presence reflects confidence in Yemen's future and underscores the importance of supporting the country's efforts to restore stability. He stressed that Yemen's current challenges extend beyond its borders, linking the country's security to regional stability, international shipping, and international order. The President also said recent Houthi escalation serves Iran's regional agenda rather than Yemen's interests, noting that the militia has repeatedly undermined peace initiatives through military escalation and attacks on international shipping and neighboring countries. He also highlighted the humanitarian crisis affecting more than 20 million Yemenis, stressing that humanitarian assistance should go hand in hand with support for state institutions to ensure lasting stability. The President also emphasized that strengthening Yemen's legitimate institutions remains the most effective path to regional security and protection of vital international waterways.
On the national front, President Rashad Al-Alimi saw in Salam Saleh bin Buraik as Yemen's new ambassador, extraordinary and plenipotentiary to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Following the oath-taking ceremony at the Yemeni embassy in Riyadh, President Al-Alimi described the mission in Saudi Arabia as one of Yemen's most important diplomatic postings, saying its success would further strengthen the strategic partnership between the two countries. The President reaffirmed that Yemen's partnership with Saudi Arabia is a strategic choice rooted in shared history, geography, and common interests, praising the kingdom's continued political, economic, and humanitarian support for the Yemeni government, as well as its role in promoting regional security and stability. He also expressed hope that Yemen would move beyond years of a crisis to become an active partner in Gulf security and economic development following the restoration of state institutions.
Dr. Rashad Al-Alimi also swore in Turkey bin Kamsha as the new governorate of SADA governorate. President Al-Alimi congratulated the new governor and described SADA as one of Yemen's most important governorates, praising its tribes and citizens for their historic role in defending the republican system and supporting efforts to restore state institutions. The President said SADA should not be defined by armed conflict or sectarian agendas, but by its people, history, and potential, reaffirming the state's commitment to all communities seeking peace and stability. He outlined the governorate's vision for the government's vision for rebuilding the governorate through reconstruction, improved public services, road rehabilitation, and compensation for those affected by the conflict, stressing that SADA's future lies in education, development, economic opportunities rather than war.
In diplomatic efforts, the chairman of the Shura Council, Ahmed Ubaid bin Dagher, met with the European Union's ambassador to Yemen, Beatrix Simone, and called for stronger European support to advance peace in Yemen and counter threats to regional security. During the meeting, bin Dagher said the recent attacks targeting Saudi Arabia by Iran-backed army groups, including the Houthi militia and militias in Iraq, reflected a continuing pattern to regional escalation that undermines security and prospects for peace. Bin Dagher called for a firmer international response, including measures to curb the funding and affirming army groups and hold their backers accountable, while reiterating the Presidential Leadership Council's commitment to a comprehensive peace based on the agreed national and international references. He also urged the European Union to continue in supporting the Yemeni government politically and diplomatically, while stepping up efforts to protect regional stability and international maritime navigation.
Foreign Minister Dr. Afrah Al-Zuba met with Kuwait's ambassador to Yemen, Falah Al-Mutairi, to review opportunities for expanding cooperation in the political, humanitarian development sectors. The ministers briefed the ambassadors on the latest developments in Yemen, including the challenges posed by the Houthi militia's continued escalation and its impact on the country's security, humanitarian situation and economy. Dr. Al-Zuba praised Kuwait's long-standing support for Yemen, highlighting its humanitarian assistance and development projects, while reaffirming the government's commitment to restoring state institutions and advancing stability. She also reiterated Yemen's solidarity with Kuwait following recent Iranian attacks, affirming Yemen's support for all measures taken by Kuwait to safeguard its security and sovereignty. For his part, Ambassador Al-Mutairi reaffirmed Kuwait's continued support for Yemen's unity, security and stability, and its commitment to strengthening bilateral cooperation and humanitarian assistance.
In the energy sector, Minister of Oil and Minerals Mohammed Bamaka and German Ambassador Thomas Schneider discussed ways to strengthen cooperation as the government moves forward with efforts to resume crude oil exports and expand investment in natural gas. During talks, Minister Bamaka outlined the economic impact of the suspension of crude oil exports following Houthi militia attacks on export terminals in October 22, which significantly reduced state revenues and deepened the country's economic challenges. The meeting reviewed the government's technical and administrative preparations to restart exports, including operational readiness at the oil fields and export terminals, security measures to protect key energy facilities, and investment opportunities to develop Yemen's gas sector and energy infrastructure. Dr. Bamaka stressed that restoring oil exports is essential to supporting the national economy, financing public services, and ensuring the payment of public sector salaries.
In regional developments, Yemen strongly condemned the Iranian missile attack targeting the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, describing it as a serious violation of Jordan's sovereignty and a dangerous escalation that threatens regional peace and stability. In a statement, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates reaffirms Yemen's full solidarity with Jordan and its support for all legitimate measures taken to safeguard the kingdom's security, sovereignty, and safety of its citizens. Yemen further warned that Iran's continued policy of escalation and attacks against neighboring states requires a firmer international response to deter actions that undermine regional security and international peace.
Turning to regional security, Yemen joined high-level military talks in Saudi Arabia on a proposed multinational maritime defense alliance aimed at protecting international shipping lanes and strengthening maritime security. Representing Yemen, Chief of the General Staff and Commander of Joint Operations, Lieutenant General Saghir bin Aziz, took part in a meeting hosted by the Saudi Ministry of Defense alongside military chiefs and representatives from countries and the 43 European Union.
The participants discussed growing threats to maritime security, including attacks on commercial vessels, energy tankers, and critical maritime infrastructure, emphasizing the need for stronger multinational defense cooperation to safeguard global trade and freedom of navigation. Yemen was among countries that issued the 14th statement endorsing the initiative and welcoming progress toward establishing the alliance, which will focus on protecting Bab el-Mandeb Strait, the Red Sea, and the Gulf of Aden. The participants agreed to continue technical and military planning ahead of the formal launch of the alliance, describing maritime security as a shared international responsibility requiring sustained global cooperation.
In a trade and investment, Yemen and Indonesia signed a memorandum of understanding to strengthen cooperation, marking a new step in expanding bilateral trade and investment ties. The agreement signed via Jakarta between Yemen's Ministry of Industry and Trade and Indonesia's Ministry of Trade aims to facilitate halal product certification, streamline the movement of goods, increase bilateral trade, and promote technical and institutional cooperation in line with international standards. Deputy Minister of Industry and Trade Salim Al-Wali described the agreement as an important milestone in Yemen-Indonesian economic relations, reflecting both countries' commitment to building a sustainable partnership based on shared economic interests. He said the ministry views the halal product sector as a strategic opportunity to enhance the competitiveness of Yemeni products, expand their access to regional and international markets, and support economic growth and investment.
Turning to international engagement, Yemen called for stronger international support to help restore state institutions and counter threats posed by the Houthi militia to regional and global security. During talks in Berlin, Yemen's ambassador to Germany, Lu'ay al-Aryani, met with Thomas Volk, head of the Middle East and North Africa Department at the Konrad Adenauer Foundation, to discuss the latest developments in Yemen and their regional implications. Al-Aryani said continued Houthi attacks on international shipping in the Red Sea and Bab el-Mandeb serves Iran's regional agenda and represents an enduring threat to international maritime security. He stressed that most effective way to address those threats is by strengthening the Yemeni government and enabling it to restore state authority across the country, describing it as the only legitimate partner capable of ensuring security and meeting its international responsibilities. The ambassador also said the Houthi militia has responded to successive peace initiatives with further military escalation, arguing that its actions demonstrate a performance for prolonging the conflict rather than pursuing a genuine political settlement.
That's all for tonight. Thank you for watching and have a good time.